Alrighty, everyone. Big Blue in the Bronx is back. And this time we have the Max Scherzer trade that just took place this evening. Again, not a shocking move. If you listened to the podcast, I've said repeatedly to trade all these veterans to get whatever you can for any value of some sort. And I think the Mets actually did well on this deal, sending Max Scherzer to the Texas Rangers in exchange for the younger brother of Ronald Acuna, Luis Angel Acuna, who is now actually becomes the Mets' top prospect. We'll get into him in a little bit, but he becomes the top prospect for the New York Mets. But before we even get into the trade, we kind of got to break down what happened. So, obviously Thursday you have the David Robertson trade to Miami. And that apparently didn't sit well with Max Scherzer because after last night's win that he pitched his last game as a New York Met, he told the media, and this is basically him indirectly speaking to the front office, saying, we need to have a conversation, meaning him in the front office. And not only that, but we need, you're trading our closer away, and a bunch of people are going to have a conversation with our front office. Now, that is true. He didn't say anything wrong in terms of that. However, I don't think he has the right to speak on that per se, and I'll get into a little bit why. And that's because, the way you perform, Max, has been awful. You could sit there and say that and be making those public demands to the media if you're a really good player and you want to worry about your future. Well, you're kind of the reason why we're in this position to begin with, which ain't good at all, man, which is not good at all. You led the National League in home runs, giving up 23. I mean, the slider's been one of the worst pitches in baseball this year for Max in terms of the home run ball. ERA is at a 4.01, hasn't been that bad since 2011. So again, not really giving you a good, cause to pause in terms of that. The strikeouts are down from previous years. I mean, this is a guy who used to have nearly 12, at least 12 strikeouts a game. Now it's down at 10.1 per 9 innings. The home run ball, like I said, is up. He's given up 8.2 homers per 9 innings. Unacceptable there. The walks are even up. I mean, this guy is a full walk up over from last year, which, really is concerning when you looked at Scherzer this year and you're wondering. And even the FIP highest of his career at 4.73. Again, not good at all. The F4, all the important stats have been either down or up, however it's negatively affected for Scherzer. He's just he's just not been a big game pitcher for the New York Mets at all in his tenure. You could look at last year in the Padres series. You could any game this year. He just has been a run-giving machine. He's been a plotter, very erratic. Again, the breaking stuff just simply has not been able to put away hitters, and has been very concerning to me. Now, some other details of the trade itself, now that we have the context and the stats for Max Scherzer. The Mets are going to be paying his salary as Scherzer, as was reported earlier by a few analysts out there. I think Ken Rosenthal might have been the first to report it, if I'm not mistaken. But him and actually Mark Feinstein said that Max Scherzer will be opting in, which means the New York Mets are going to pay $35 million of Scherzer's salary through the end of 2024, while the Rangers pay $22.5 million. And the Mets have the ability to do this because, not only also, a side note, they are sending $22 million over to the Rangers, but they have the ability to do this because Steve Cohen has the ability to do this. No owner in baseball has the amount of money and, pockets that Steve Cohen has. That is one thing that Cohen has shown he is not afraid to do. He's not afraid to buy out players. He's not afraid to take on bad contracts. He's not afraid to, eat salary to get rid of guys. He's shown that, whether it was the Brian McCann trade, he's bought out Robinson Cano. He just, he doesn't matter who, he will get you out of there because Cohen wants certain players on this team. And, now that you talk about money, we have to figure out, well, what is Luis Angel Acuna? Well, he was the Rangers, who have a very good system. Okay, the Texas Rangers have a very good system in terms of their prospects. I mean, You have Evan Carter. The guy I thought they would go after, Brock Porter, who's a right-handed pitcher. I would have preferred a pitcher over position player just because I think that group for the Mets is weaker. But I'm not complaining about Luis Angel Acuna. They also got Owen White, Jack Leiter, some pitchers. So I was thinking if they were going after a top prospect, it would be a pitcher. But they decided to go for the middle infielder. So Acuna can play short and second base. And he's very athletic in terms of his fielding. So, a guy that could move around. He's also got a good arm out there. So, again, with Lindor at shortstop for the future, it looks like with this 21-year-old in the minors, maybe he's the future second baseman on this team. You figure out what to do with McNeil in the future, but obviously that's questions for down the road. But what I do like about Acuna, two things that really jumped out at me. First off, just like his brother Ronald, and I'm not saying Luis Angel is going to be better than Ronald of that sort. That's not what I'm saying at all. I am saying, though, that in terms of talents, the talent is there for Luis Angel Acuna. This man can swipe bags. He's been very adequate at that. And I like his ability to hit all over the field. And he's shown he's got power the other way. So in this year, he's got 42 stolen bases, which has been very exciting to watch. And he's been a 40-base stealer pretty much, every, stop of the way of the minors, because he is in Double-A now. I should mention that. He's hitting .315 in Double-A this year, .830 OPS. He's got 7 homers, 51 RBIs. I mean, been nothing but a joy for Ronald. I mean, not for Ronald, for Luis Angel Acuna. I might have said, sorry if I said Ronald, but it just stuck in my head. But again, can steal, can hit for power the other way, which is really good to see. Now, it's not that he's like a chaser, but sometimes what I've noticed a little bit, his ability to hit the off speed and breaking ball, it's not as good as the fastball. But if he could settle down, which a lot of players in the majors and growing and developing the minors have to adjust to that, because most guys can hit the fastball and do struggle on the breaking stuff, and that's what the really good hitters learn to do, is hit the breaking balls very well. So that's why I wouldn't say it's a major problem, because he does have his share of walks and strikeouts, especially this year in 362 at bats. He's gotten he is 76 strikeouts, which isn't so alarming. It's not the lowest, but it's not the highest, which is not again not a huge issue, but something he can work on. And when you talk about overall the bigger picture here in terms of the Mets, well, yeah, I get it. Billy Epler failed this team. So did Buck Showalter. But Billy Epler was supposed to get this team, at top of the division with the Braves, the Phillies, battling it out. And he's got them closer kind of to the bottom tier of the Nationals. And that's just unacceptable. And I understand. I'd be very mad, too, if you told me that we're going to trade our veterans at the beginning of the year for prospects. Now, I think the Mets did do very well in this trade, considering Scherzer wasn't having that good of a season, and they still got a really good prospect in Luis Angel Acuna. But I understand why I would be upset and say, look, these were our standards, and now we have to lower them because our team simply hasn't performed. Billy Epler has not made the right moves as a general manager. He did not build his team proper. And, Buck Showalter's had his many mistakes in game, but this is what we have to do now, unfortunately. And I think we took a really good prospect for Luis Angel Acuna. I'm very surprised that we made better in this deal than we did in the David Robertson deal, just because we also had to eat money. I did not expect to get a prospect of this caliber because, number one, he's our best prospect in the system now, and number two, he was a top 50 prospect in baseball. So that is very high quality right there. But it does make sense because the Mets, they're not going anywhere. Max Scherzer doesn't have a future on this team. And, you look at the Texas Rangers, they're fighting for the division for the playoffs. Houston, Texas had that monster start, but Houston is, gaining up on them. They're 1.5 games out of the AL West. So very smart there. And, Texas' pitching has fallen off just a tad. the hitting's really there, but I know guys like they've had, the John Grays, the Dane Dunnings. DeGrom unfortunately got hurt. So they actually have two of our starters from last year's postseason race, which is kind of funny. But again, they needed some pitching help. You have Nathan Eovaldi there too. But Scherzer's a veteran who's been there in the playoffs before, does have a World Series under his belt, has plenty of experience, whether it was back in Detroit, whether it was Washington. It's not like he's I'd say he's a bit washed, but it's not like he doesn't bring anything to them. It is a bigger ballpark, so maybe the home runs go down for him. But again, I think the Mets do win this trade because they get a really good piece in Luis Angel Acuna, who again, maybe he's not his brother, but he can be something pretty good in the majors. He might not be the superstar, but maybe his ceiling could be an all-star. So again, that's the deal for the Max Scherzer trade. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, and make sure to check out all the videos and live streams that we do in the future weeks, and we will see you in the next one.